today's video is going to be one that I've been really wanting to do for a while now, and this is my top 12 tips for upcoming brides and grooms on picking their future photographer and or videographer. So this sort of combines the two, and I'm just going to get straight in with my top tips. This list is compiled from things I've learned from online and then just my previous experiences. If you're just stumbling across this video, Darren and I got married in September at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. I will link our relevant ceremony videos and things like that down below, and any other wedding videos if you're just stumbling across my channel for the first time. That being said, obviously I and my husband live in England and we got married in Vegas, so again there's some things relating to if you're having doing it long distance, things like that. Let's get right in because I've got lots of tips to share with you. The first one is a no-brainer, and that's just to research their work, either for your photographer or your videographer. Both of them, you want to see what they are like. They're all going to have their own styles. There are loads of different places you can find photographers and videographers. There are plenty of wedding fairs. Darren and I did go to one wedding fair when we thought we were going to get married in the UK, and there was about 3 different photographers there. Again, there's loads of resources online. You can just get word of mouth from other people. I really recommend going on YouTube and Instagram to look for wedding videos, on YouTube and on Instagram to look for wedding photographers, see what photos they've been tagged in by their clients. And YouTube's obviously a great resource to look for videographers' work. Often they'll either have their own channel or clients will have uploaded their videos like we did. So personally I did a lot of that. I went on Instagram, put in wedding photographers, followed lots of wedding Instagrams, things like that, and on YouTube obviously just searching for loads of wedding videos, seeing what sort of style I liked in their videos to gain inspiration. So my second tip is very much price dependent, and it's whether you want a very personal feel to your photos and video or whether you want it to have that sort of high-end production feel. For us, I really wanted a very personal, intimate feel. There was only 6 of us at our wedding anyway, so it would have felt a bit odd to have a really dramatic sort of production style video. But if you are having a very big wedding with lots of people, that might be a route that you should or might want to go down. Again, just depends what your preference is, and again depends on budget and how much you want to spend on said videographer or photographer. So tip number 3 was very evident for us, and that was, where are your photographers based? This is going to be more relative, maybe not so much in the UK, well I mean it can do, but more so if you're getting married A, abroad, or B, in the States. Will your photographer travel out of state? Where are they based in relation to you? Are they a local company? If you find someone that you really like but they live up north 100 miles away, will they be willing to travel? Will you have to pay for that expense? It's all things to think about. Luckily our photographers and videographers, I believe, are both based in Vegas, and just outside of the Strip, so they were very used to doing Vegas weddings. That's what they were used to. I know they've both, I believe, have travelled out of state for it, and I will link our photographers and our videographers down below if you want to see what we had. And yeah, that's just another thing to consider. Maybe not so much if you're getting married in the UK, especially if you go to a local wedding fair, then they're all going to be sort of local vendors. So tip number 4 is to consider your venue, and that is because has your photographer ever, or your videographer ever, photographed or videoed a wedding there? If they have, great, they will have already experienced any lighting issues, they'll know what the location is, they'll know sort of best places to take photos or where the best rooms are in a hotel. things like that, which is great. I know especially when we went to the wedding fair, there was one local photographer and he was like, if you get married here and you pick this hotel, like the higher up rooms are better for lighting, they've got nicer windows, things like that. They have really thought about and considered what's best for the outcome of your photos and your video. So that is something to consider. And also, if they have photographed or videoed there before, you can see sort of what kind of pictures and the outcome they've had there before. And you can take ideas from that, and if there's something you saw that they really want, that they did that you really liked, and then you can ask them to sort of recreate that. And also Google wedding photos where your venue is, because again, there might be other photographers that have picked some really great ideas. You may not necessarily want that photographer, but you want to sort of recreate some photos of different areas, and you can just get ideas from them, things like that. So venue plays a big part in it. Tip number 5 is something actually our photographer and videographer supplied to us, and that was a questionnaire. I believe both of them supplied us with one, and it covers various different things that you may not have thought of. And if your photographer or videographer doesn't supply this, then this may just give you a couple tips on things you could ask them, things to consider, or you can make up your own questionnaire with any questions you have for your vendor. And you can probably Google online different questionnaires as well that you could fill out and send to them. So it's things like how many people are in your party, who are the main people, like mother of the bride, father of the bride, things like that. Who's going to be walking who down the aisle? Are there any special events that are happening during the ceremony? So for us, the glass was being broken because my dad's side of the family is Jewish. Things like what sort of things do you want photographed? Do you want like your shoes, your dress, your ring? Any invitations? Are you going to be exchanging presents? I know in America they have a first look, so it'd be like, are you having a first look? Things like that. Are you exchanging letters? It's just all things to consider. Again, it's going to depend on what situation you're in and where you're going. For us, it was very small and intimate, so we didn't have the end of night speeches, things like that. We didn't have like a dance or that evening sort of party thing, and our photographers and videographer left as we were going to dinner. So again, that is something to consider. I'm just trying to look at my notes. Yeah, so about the questionnaires, hopefully they should, I mean, I can only speak for ours, that they supplied us with them, but it's something to ask them. Maybe they can supply you with a questionnaire, make one up for you of things that would be useful for them to know, so you can answer, but also they might come up with things that you might not have thought of. My next tip is really a very personal one, and that is to go with your gut feeling, and do you like the people that you want to employ for your wedding? At the end of the day, you are paying them to come to your wedding, so don't be afraid to give them ideas, give them tips of things that are really crucial that you want on your day to be immortalized. And is that the right word? And hopefully they will come back being really warm and open about all your ideas, because they want to do the best they can for you. And again, if they come back like being a bit off-standish, stop right there, don't go with them, because it's such a special day and there are going to be such intimate moments that you don't want to feel like you've got like an intruder or someone you don't really know there experiencing it with you. Susie and Will, our photographers, was super nice. Terence, our videographer, again, really nice, really funny, and we all got on really well, and it just made the day really enjoyable. You didn't feel like a bit awkward. They made it just really easy, and I'd had previous Skype calls with both of them, so I could get a feel of them, of who they are. I could, like, you find out a bit more about them personally, and yeah, so go with your gut. If something doesn't feel right, if you've got a funny feeling, either you or your spouse, then it's probably best not to go ahead with them. Tip number 8 is to consider your budget. For me, having a photographer and later on a videographer was really, really important to me, especially the photos, because they are things that are going to last. And it's a tip that I was given many times over during the preparation process for our wedding, was invest in your photographers and a videographer if you want to. I feel like nowadays videographers are becoming more commercialized, as in them becoming more important to people. They not only want to capture it in photos but have the video as well, and that was something that initially I didn't think I wanted, but the more I watched wedding videos I was like, I really, really want that. So you need to have that talk with your spouse and come up with a budget, how important these photos are for you. For me, I knew it was something that was going to last for years and years. It's the things you're going to put up around your house. The flowers, they die. Other little things like are just there for the day, but the photos and the videos are what are going to last. So for me, that was really, really important, and it's definitely something to bear in mind and budget for, and it's something I allowed extra for and was willing to pay that little bit extra for. Yes, we were still paying off after our wedding on the credit card, but we're super pleased with it now. My next tip is slightly similar to one of my previous tips about whether your photographer has photographed or videoed there before. And if you're getting married in a sort of unusual location, say you're getting married in a very dark church, maybe it has sentimental reasons to you and that's why you've picked it, but it is very dark. Have they photographed in very dark surroundings before? Also, obviously, how do they tackle weather issues? Obviously, in the UK we have a lot of rain. Ask your photographer, how would we go about including the rain in our shoot? Obviously, umbrellas play a big part, and you can get some gorgeous umbrellas to help include in your photos. And I've seen some absolutely stunning wedding photos that have just gone with the rain, and it looks beautiful. Again, if you're having not even if you're having an unusual location, but just consider your location and what the lighting's going to be like, what's like surrounding the areas. For example, at our wedding we had a swimming pool sort of fairly close to us. There was planes going overhead because we were in a city, we were in Las Vegas, and that's something obviously the videographer would have had to take into account with the sound. And also in our hotel rooms he had to consider the fact that we had to turn the aircon off because that would have interfered with the sound as well. And again, it's just little things to think about, to look at their work. If you don't see anything on their website or in their portfolio of that sort of lighting or that atmosphere, then ask them how they would deal with it, whether they feel comfortable dealing with something like that. If they sound really confident in it and you genuinely believe that, then sure, go ahead. But if they say, no, I've never photographed in such dark conditions before, then it is something to be considered whether you want to go ahead with them. My next tip, again, is an obvious one. Read the reviews on them. There are many different websites, especially in America. They have The Knot, which is where I believe I found Susie and Will, our photographers, and there's loads of like wedding websites that encompass everything to do with weddings, but also include photographers and videographers, and they have reviews there, and also on their websites they can also have testimonials, things like that. And especially if you find someone on Instagram, you really like their photos, you think you want to go ahead with the photographer they've had in the past, you can message them and just be like, hey, well, I'm thinking about choosing this person as our photographer or our videographer. What did you think of them? Was there anything you would have changed? Things like that. Just having a conversation with that person and just messaging them directly to have your questions answered, to get another perspective on those people. And it may sound like, if you're just like coming across this video and you've never been part of like your own wedding before and you've never had to pick a photographer or videographer, it is a big thing and a big step to take, and you are trusting these people to capture your day, and you really have to be certain on it. And I feel like, you know, like the dress, like the ring, you know when that person is the one to capture your day. My 11th tip is to consider how much post-production they do. This is obviously going to be quite evident in the photos that they've already had, but you can straight up ask them, do you do much post-production? If you want your photos to look really natural, unedited, ask that. Usually they will state somewhere how much post-production they do, whether it's just like minimal, like colour correction, fixing blemishes, things like that, or whether they really zoom in on the lighting and they add different effects and things like that. Our photos from Susie and Will were all very sort of light coloured, and I really like that very light ethereal look to them, all very pastel-y and just really bright and airy. Our videographer did a lot of post-production, as in there was like different like flare elements coming into it. It looked gorgeous, and again you'll be able to see that in their portfolios, and it's something to consider whether you want that really editorial look or whether you want it to look very natural and very genuine of how the day went. And finally, my last tip is to consider extra charges. Many photographers and videographers obviously put together packages of things, and you can get really sort of tied up in all the added extras and add-ons. So things to consider: how many photographers you want. Usually in a standard package they'll have 2 photographers, but they can add extras, and like me, you might think, oh, I need it all, but you might not need it all, and that's something to consider. For example, I believe for our photos we went for a higher package, but with our video we went for the lowest package possible because we wanted that film element, but it wasn't as important to us as the photos. So that's sort of how we split it. But it's extra things to think about. Usually they will do different packages for hours, so do you want them there from the whole day? Sometimes they'll do sort of like between 6 and 8 hours. It just depends what you're looking for. I know our videographer offered other different things, like you can have the normal camera option, and then they'll also do like a really vintage film option as well that you can add onto it. And then there's also the packages of having photo books printed up at the end. Some of them will do that for you, some of them don't. They just give it to you sort of on a thumb drive, or just send the photos to you. What I really liked about Susie and Will is we not only, I mean I can't quite remember the packages because we bought them a long time ago now, but the package we bought had an engagement shoot which we actually turned into a day after shoot because obviously we weren't in the country for an engagement shoot, which again is something you might want to do, is if you're not keen on having an engagement shoot, then, or it's been a while since you've been engaged, then you might want to change it to like a day after shoot where you're like settled into marriage and can go off somewhere and have some other really fun photos taken not in your formal attire. So it came with that. It came with extra photo books that we are currently designing, and obviously our videographer, it comes with the footage, and they put together a little reel and they send it to us. So it's different things like that to think of. Don't get wrapped up in all the add-ons. Think logically, talk to your spouse, write it down what you actually want out of your photographers and videographers, what is important to you. Do you want them to create photo books afterwards, or is it cheaper for you to go and make your own? Things like that to consider. So these have been my 12 very rambly tips for picking a wedding photographer or videographer. If you've got any further tips, leave them down below for everyone to see. And yeah, I will link all links to previous wedding videos and the people we employed for our wedding down below. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you soon. Bye guys.